ready? Let's go. This is your wake-up call. This is your daily reminder. This is your confirmation.
All right, y'all, here we go.
Wake-up call. This is your daily reminder.
Ta-da! There we are. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello,
Hello, everybody.
We are in the building. We are ready to go.
Yes.
Ready to do this. How's everybody doing tonight?
Okay.
Come on down. Let's get it going on. All the above. All right. Welcome. Everybody joining us tonight. Give everybody a few minutes to stretch, get comfortable, get your popcorn, do whatever you got to do.
Let's get ready to
drink, whatever you got to deal with here. Get some water.
Yes, let's have conversation.
Yes. It is time once again, Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. We've been doing this for over a year now. You know that?
Wow.
You realize that?
Yeah.
It was like last March or so. We're now in
April.
in
the beginning of quarantine.
That's right.
Exactly. We decided we needed to have conversations with people so that they can express themselves and talk about current events and issues and talk about what we're dealing with in the world.
Exactly. Give people opportunity to kind of get it out, share some things that were happening, talk about the events that are happening, and try and put that into a perspective that also tied to some spiritual basis and background as well.
Yes.
Because, when this first started, there was a lot of question, in fact, about how COVID and all that was going on tied spiritually. Right. So people were trying to rationalize, is the end of the world? Is this, tribulation coming?
Yes.
Are we cursed? What's going on here? And so we started this to try and make sure people had the opportunity to talk out some of the things that they were dealing with. And you can still do that. You can join in the conversation at any time. You can give us a call. The number here is area code 951-799-9032. You can literally join into the conversation itself.
Yes.
Area code 951-799-9032 and be a part of the conversation.
Yes.
So what's happening with you? What's happening, lady? I haven't seen you like all day.
I have been busy all day.
So
my days are very, very busy.
Yeah.
There's always something to do and something to take care of,
Yes, likewise, getting ready for everything for tomorrow. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, and I want to start out by recognizing that this is Passion Week.
Yes.
This is Easter Sunday coming up tomorrow night, or tomorrow, during the day. And so we're getting excited about that. We have been in services this week, and it's actually the first time in almost a year that we've had midweek services going on in the church.
Exactly.
Since March again last year. So we had Wednesday and Friday service in the church, had communion again for the first time in a year, together and united. Of course, we had everything all prepared and separated out.
Yes.
For people.
I like those, the little cup that you ordered with the cup and the little piece of bread, little cracker, all in one, just like that. And all you have to do is lift the little lid for the cracker on one side, and then lift the lid for the blood, for the juice on the other side.
We'll talk about blood in a minute. But before we go there, these were nice, I think, because they were like, these are a little different.
I wish we had one to show. Yes.
Yeah, I don't have one. I have a picture somewhere.
Yeah.
But these are a little different from the ones that you typically see, which I've never really cared for.
Yeah.
And those little wafer things just don't work for me.
Yes, I know.
I know it's not about that, but oh gosh, it's just like sponges or something like that.
Something like that. But
Foam.
this was much safer.
Yeah. This
considering coronavirus and germs.
Right.
This was much safer because each person got their own little individual cup and cracker all in one.
Yep. And so it worked out very well.
Yes.
So we were grateful. The spiritual element of being able to connect up again, which was very good. If you missed the service Friday night, it's on the church page, but there was definitely an atmosphere of unity that came in with having communion together. And we've missed that. It's been a whole year. And so thank God for the opportunity to do that, and the opportunity to share in the sacrament of communion and representing what Jesus Christ did for us. So it's been a good week. thus far. God has been gracious to us, and we're grateful for everything that God has allowed to happen and God has done with us and through us. But this is the time, this particular time, Saturday night, we remember that Jesus Christ was in the tomb. His body was in the tomb. His spirit was in hell, fighting and battling and doing what needed to be done for our salvation. He went down, and the Bible says he took the captivity and freed them from their captivity. And so, he was able to save souls that had been in hell, bound up because of the fact that they had no deliverance, no relief, and just waiting for that promised Savior to come and take them out. And so he allowed them to be taken out and allows us not to be bound up by death. And so because of him, because of all of this, we have a lot to celebrate, but this would be the time. And so Friday night, Thursday into Friday was when he was actually crucified. And then 3 days from Friday, a lot of people get really weird about this, but it's not 72 hours, it's 3 days.
3 days.
So he died on the first day, Friday, during the day. He was in the tomb on Saturday, and he rose Sunday morning. So from day Friday to day Sunday, 3 days. And so a lot of people, there are people that I've seen, some supposed theologians that are trying to make really big noise out of things like that, when that's really just not an understanding of what's going on. But, there's so much depth to that story, so much depth and meaning to Christ and the timing of his death, all the things that transpire in and around it. But it's just for us to know and be grateful that he did it all for us. So we are grateful today. So want to say again, hello to everybody. So wave at us when you're coming on. I see a few people, but I don't see you saying nothing. So, come on, be part of this right now. We want to hear from you. See if Sister Renee is on my watch party.
Hey.
I got a friend this week. So glad to have somebody on my side for a change. But hello, send us a thumb, a wave, a heart, say something, type something in so we know you're there. And you can feel free to share with a friend as well that we got this going on. We got a few things to talk about tonight. A couple interesting things that have happened during this week. Holy Week and all kind of stuff week. Happening. Some unholy stuff as well. I guess we
not so nice stuff.
Not so nice stuff. But we want to talk about Derrick Chauvin and that case that's going on. Oh boy, look at that. She just snapped around.
Did I?
You just snapped when I said the word.
You know me all too well.
Oh wow. But we'll come back to that. I think we need to talk about Lil Naz first. Lil Naz
and his
the Satan shoes.
His sneaker.
They call them Satan shoes.
Satan shoes. Oh my God.
I mean,
why would you want to name something Satan shoes and then walk around in Satan shoes?
I don't think it was by coincidence. I think it was intentional. Here's Lil Naz and his shoes. And you can see there was a whole meaning to this. There actually was a video that he did with his new song. And this all ties back to his new song. And so, what's this all about? Now, look, there's all kind of symbols on here and things like that. There's a Satan star on the shoe.
666.
There's 1666 on the back. Luke 10 and 18 talks about Lucifer seen falling from the sky. And so he has all kind of symbolism in here about Satan, selling these Satan shoes. By the way, these shoes were selling for $1,000 and $1,018 a piece. And guess how many of them were for sale?
How many? 666. Oh my goodness.
So
666.
666. This is all about it. I'm pretty sure 1,018 is some derivative of 666 as well. But so there's a couple different aspects of this story. And by the way, if y'all want to jump on into it. But there's a couple different aspects to this story. The first of them, let's talk about the business aspect of this.
Yes.
And let's start there because these are Nike shoes. Okay. Right. Like I said, first of all, let's go to that. Right. This goes back to tie into the video that he has. And I have to be honest, I haven't seen the video. Saw really brief clips of it. But I haven't seen the video itself, but it does tie back as a PR that ties to the video. But the thing is, they used a Nike shoe. You can see the Nike symbol on this.
Yes, you can.
By the way, you see on our Facebook page when we posted this, like Facebook jumped on it. You know, I blurred some of the images out.
Yes,
Someplace
they did.
you can see it. We'll probably get blurred out on YouTube as well. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But it was built or redesigned from a Nike shoe. They took a standard Nike shoe and they refitted it with all these different things, colors that probably came in that color, but they added these emblems to it, all these markings, the black and stuff. And so they made it into the shoe and then resold it as this Satan shoe.
Yeah.
So Nike got all upset because look, their stock is down.
Oh my goodness.
Nike was like, okay, look, you're representing us now. You've got our emblem on there. We're not supporting this. And
right.
We don't want bad press of all this stuff going on. And so Nike is suing. First of all, they are halting. They're trying to halt them from selling the shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand how you can take a shoe, buy it, granted they bought it, and then change it and resell it. Is that even legal?
Exactly. No, that's why Nike is.
Yeah, I didn't even know you could do that at all. I mean, you take their shoe.
Well, they just reconfigure
and then resell it again.
Redesign, right?
I don't know. Maybe you can or can't. I'm not really sure. But first, Nike doesn't like the imagery.
Exactly.
Right.
Before a brand as large as Nike.
Right.
They don't like it. It represents them, and they don't want that press.
Right. So they're reselling their shoes. They added some things to it and resold their shoes. So the question is,
so Nike didn't Nike is not endorsing
Nike is not endorsing.
They are not. They have not.
They have put a halt on it in the district court to stop them from selling it. So they're arguing it's freedom of expression. And they're thinking their argument is we should be able to sell it because it's our freedom of expression.
But it's Nike's brand.
But they're selling
it. They're selling their brand.
Yeah, if they were just doing it and putting it out there, it's one thing. It's on top of Nike's brand.
Exactly.
So they'll probably lose that case.
That is illegal.
But they already sold them. They sold out.
Well, you know what? They will have to pay the proceeds, whatever they made. Nike can sue them for it.
They're going to sue them for those proceeds.
Oh, yeah.
But it's more than that. They don't want just the money. They want them to stop.
They want them to. I don't blame them.
So you don't blame them.
No. Why would you want to be associated with that?
So the question is, why would he want to be associated with that? So there's a backstory.
It's publicity.
Well, it's publicity. And then there's another story. It's the rest of the story here as to what this is all about. At least from what has been spoken. Apparently what they're saying is that he's acknowledged himself as being gay.
Okay.
Has for some time now. We know that, right? But apparently he must have grown up in the church.
Right.
And apparently the church made him feel very bad about himself and his identity and wouldn't allow him to be himself, for being gay. And so as a result of that, he, now this is a strike at the church. What I don't know is if this is a strike at God or if this is a strike at the church, meaning, but the Satan thing kind of crosses the limit to God, because you can make a strike at the church and say, look, the church is not being godly. It's not treating me with love. It's not treating me right. I'm striking out against the church. But he's taking on this imagery of Satan.
I was going to say that. Is he a Satan worshiper now?
Don't know. Or just, honestly, my guess is he doesn't probably believe much in either one. He's just using this as a way to.
He wants to make a statement,
right? To try and bring hurt to the church, and bring attention to the fact that, hey, the church hurt me. They,
they rejected me because of my sexuality,
right? And so I'm taking this stab and promoting something that is anti what the church stands for. I'm thinking that's what it's about. So this kind of brings us to the question. I see somebody else on, Sharon Jordan Brownlee, saying hello. To me and you.
Hi.
Hello,
Sharon.
So, we have the question to us in the church is, are we responsible for creating this? Because we're dealing right now with a generation here. This is the bigger story of this. We're dealing with a generation of young people who are pushing away from the church. And a lot of it is because they have this sense of new sexual identity. And it's just all over the map now, from homosexuality, pansexuality. I think it was Demi Lovato just came out as pansexual. They're omnisexual. There's all kind of
fluid.
And so there is this identity, new identity that's forming amongst this group of young people coming up that says we should be free to be whatever we feel we want to be,
whatever. Yes.
Right. And there should be no hold and no restrictions or no negativities about however I choose to express myself sexually.
Yes.
And so the church is being looked on as an enemy of this. So where is the church stand? This is where I need y'all to come on into the conversation, right? Come on, help me out, right? Where is the church stance on this? Is the church doing wrong? Because biblically, all those things are unbiblical. They're ungodly according to the Bible, right? Those concepts of homosexuality and omnisexual and pansexual and whatever other sexualities are all from the Bible considered to be abominations, ungodly, right? And so the young people are saying they're not finding a place in the church because they're now identifying with who they are and coming to grips with who they are, and the church won't accept it. But it's really amazing to me that it's like this bottle has been opened, like Pandora's box has been opened, and now it's just a flood of people who all of a sudden are like, okay, I think I'm this, or I think I'm that, or I think I'm that. You know, it's just like this flood. And some people would suggest that this has been hidden in the winds forever.
That is what I was thinking. That's what I was going to say, that homosexuality is nothing new. It's been around. It's just now it's more open. It's at one time it was very hidden. You didn't want to acknowledge that you were gay. You'd keep it in the closet. And in some countries, such as Jamaica, West Indies, you do not want anyone to know because that you were gay, because actually they would actually hurt you.
Oh, not just there. I mean,
well, I can speak for that because I know about that.
Concept. In Mexico, they will hurt you. In some, especially like communist countries, certain communist countries, they will kill you.
Yes, well, Jamaica as well,
and the Middle East as well. So this is not a new thing, anti-gayism, but I think part of my point is this has gone way past just being homosexual.
I think exactly that it's gone past that. And I think it's more accepted. People accept it more so than they did in the past. And people that they want to be accepted just like anybody else.
It's accepted in society, but the church is still held to a standard of what the Bible says. And so this is the conflict that ends up with Satan's shoes, right? Because this young man feels like, I can't be myself and still love God and still have a relationship with God. And there is a real conflict.
It is a real conflict, because who are we to say that someone that is gay can't come to church and can't serve God? God died for everyone. He died for all of our sins, no matter what the sin may be. So who are we as people and as Christians to say that someone that lives an alternative lifestyle cannot come to church and that God doesn't love them? That is not for us to judge. We cannot make that call.
But number one, the question is it sin, right? Because if it is truly sin, I mean, right now they will imply to you it's not sin because it's natural, it's me, right? If it's sin, and by the way, there are a lot of natural things that are sinful.
There are a lot of things,
right? They're just because something feels right, feels good on you, doesn't necessarily mean it's not sinful, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's ungodly. It's not ungodly, because the very first sin was a sin that felt right to Adam and Eve.
Yes.
Right? Most sin is about something that feels right to you, right? But it's not, according to the Bible, something that God approves of. And so if it is sin, then the issue isn't just a matter of can they be accepted? The issue is, are we going to continue in sin?
Well, You could take any sin and say the same exact thing.
I am
you
saying
could
the same
say
exact
same exact thing.
Right.
You could take a person that's drug addicted. You know, can they be saved? Can they be delivered from the sin of alcoholism and drug addiction? If it is a sin, if we feel, or the Bible, the church feels that someone living an alternative lifestyle is sinful, can't they too be delivered? And shouldn't church be the place that they should be?
Well,
in order to be delivered and in order to get a better understanding?
But first of all, homosexuals don't feel like they need to be delivered. This is the point.
But some do.
But that's
some do.
That is the conflict
That's
that Lil Naz is talking about, because people have tried to convert people who felt they were homosexual, who felt they had other feelings like this, transsexual, etc. You know, the church has pushed them to convert them, and that's part of what's made this rebellion. So again, it goes back to this question: is it sin? Right? Is it sin? The Bible tells us if we are in sin, that we're not supposed to continue in sin. So there are things that we may do, and again, you can go across the board, not just homosexuality. If I'm a liar, right? I'm not supposed to continue lying if it's a sin. Someone will tell you that, okay, that's a character issue you need to change. They're saying homosexuality is my identity. I was born this way. So they're trying to segregate and define this as being different from something that you just do. They're saying I was born and this is who I am. And so to try and convert me when this is what I was born as is corrupt on your end. And that's the rebellion against the church that's coming up, to say you can't force me to be something that I was born into. I don't want this. I don't want this, but this is who I am. That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying. But I not everyone that is that lives an alternative lifestyle. Not all of them feel that they were born that way. Some do feel that they were born that way. Some people have experienced it. Some people have been forced into it and accepted it.
Right.
I've heard all different stories, you know, but not everyone feels that they were born that way.
Right.
And now there are people that I want to say forced into it, or it was
forced on them.
They
were exposed.
That's the word, that they were exposed to it. Sometimes those people do want to be delivered. I do know some.
Right.
You know, that said that, well, you know, this is something due to the environment growing up as a child.
Right.
You know, this happened to me and I want to be delivered from that. So do we tell that person they can't come to, they shouldn't come to God, they couldn't come to church, or that God doesn't love them? Yes, God does love them.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's a slippery slope for Christians to say that someone that lives an alternative lifestyle, and I'm saying that so that I'm not saying gay, because, you know, gay, alternative lifestyle, same, one and the same. Who are we to say that, who the church shouldn't be able to make that call or make that judgment?
Well, there's definitely a graduation, as you're describing here, of people across this and where they feel that they're at. From those that feel like, look, this is who I am. You just need to accept me who I am. And if you can't, we have a problem. To those who feel like they were drawn into something that they never wanted to be in, and they're trying to find a way out. You have this whole, you know, gradient of where people are at. And that gradient is opening itself up more and more and more. You know, the thing that kind of concerns me is that the more that we have this becomes kind of a norm. Now you have children who are very impressionable coming up, being exposed to this quandary of different things that are out there, and being told, in essence, just pick which one you want.
Yes, it's right? Like, a smorgasbord.
Yeah, smorgasbord.
It's a buffet
sexuality.
Right?
And
take your pick.
I personally think it's becoming more confusing to them than anything.
I can agree with that.
I think it's becoming more confusing than revealing, because I think the approach on this was, hey, this is a revolution. This is going to make me feel better because now I can be who I am. And what I seem to be observing is the more of this release there is, the more confusion, the more suicidal, the more depressed, the more anxieties.
I agree with that.
You know, instead of them feeling better because now they're being released to be who they are, this whole generation is suicidal. It's crazy.
It's very, very true. You're giving young people too many choices. There is a school in New York City. Well, actually, Harvey Milk started Harvey Milk in California. Yeah, there's a movie on Harvey Milk. I actually wrote a paper. This is why I know something about it. Harvey Milk started the gay rights marches and movements. I know of a school in New York City called Harvey Milk. I'm not sure if it's still around or if they still call it Harvey Milk, but that school was developed because you had children or young people that were living an alternative lifestyle or that were gay, homosexual, whatever you want to call it. And these kids were rejected. Some of them were homeless because their parents or at the home rejected them. They were dropping out of high school, dropping out of school, period, not going to school at all because they were ostracized and they were picked on. And the suicide rate was very, very high for these children that actually came out at a school age. So therefore, the school Harvey Milk was designed for those children so that they could go ahead and feel comfortable in a school environment with people and students like themselves. The same
kind of struggles they were.
And the same struggles so that they could go ahead and graduate because a lot of them end up not graduating. A lot of them ended up, homeless. They didn't have skills to be employed. So therefore they were committing crimes. There was a horrendous crime where some of the students, 2 students that went to Harvey Milk School, they actually committed some really bad crime and really hurt somebody. But I'm saying all that to say that the school was developed for those type of children. I don't want to say those type of children, for those children.
The thing that really concerns me is that, again, the more broad and open this becomes, and if you look at it from a percentage standpoint, I don't have the stats, but I would say that the percentage of young people now that are moving into these alternative lifestyles, and there's a whole host of different definitions or variations of them, is steadily increasing.
It is.
And the more it increases, again, the more suicidal and the more depressed this generation seems to be becoming.
Yes.
So whatever it is, it doesn't seem to be working.
No, it's not.
And so it just suggests that maybe this isn't really the answer that they're looking for.
This is true. Having worked in high school, that's mostly where I have worked, is on the high school level and behavioral in New York City and in Syracuse. I have worked with students that were actually depressed because of their lifestyle, or they were afraid, or they didn't want it to be known that they were. I can almost point them. I can almost figure them out.
That's a whole nother. I mean, that's the first stage of frustration and depression because they feel like they're holding it. They have anxiety. They don't want anybody to know. And so they're struggling with this outcast feeling. They're struggling with not being able to release. But then, okay, you go ahead and you let it out. You release. You get your support group. And the depression doesn't go away.
I was about to say that sometimes they are still
right. That's the
depressed.
thing that I'm pointing to. I understand that if you feel like you're locked in and you can't be yourself and you got a secret you can't tell anybody, that can tear you apart from the inside out.
Right.
But then you get your support group. Everybody that's around you is saying it's okay. You're good, and the depression still doesn't go away. Whether that's because I still feel society in and of itself is against me or whatever. The bottom line is there is still this, and it's just spreading further and further in this generation, and it has been now for I would say about the past almost 20 years, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like the 60s. Remember the 60s is like the free love movement, right?
Woodstock.
Yeah, exactly.
Woodstock.
Where, we should be free to love everybody, anybody. We shouldn't be bound by these restrictions that the church has on us, that we have to be husbands and wives and free sex and all this stuff. And this is going to make everything better. This is going to make our lives better. And so we went through that stage, and, that stage again didn't ultimately make things better. But I don't recall, and of course, I wasn't really involved in that. I was very young. I don't recall the kind of depression and suicide that we're seeing now.
Well, no, because they were all high on pot.
They was happy.
They was on acid.
They were happy.
They was drinking the Kool-Aid.
Well, that was another way of expressing
they were exactly.
Right?
They were,
It was still an escapism mindset. Right?
Exactly.
So that kind of settled down, and now you have this. But my fear is I don't think this is going away. That was an expression to try and find some release, some alternative that was better with all the other things that were going on in society at the time. And it wasn't, maybe I'm wrong, but it wasn't then about this whole aspect of whatever sexual. It was just sexuality being a release that was going to be the thing that freedom of that was going to allow us, to now be ourselves and be more satisfied with self. Now it's this movement into all these different elements of sexuality again, right? But in an even broader perspective. Now let's not just try free love with men and women. Let's just try whatever, and that is going to be the thing that is going to make me happy and going to work. And there's still so many struggles. So, from my perspective, spiritually, all I can say from speaking from a pastoral standpoint is the further and further we go away from the ordinances of God, the more frustrating life seems to get. And that is across the board. That is not just an issue of sexuality.
It's across the board.
We believe, I believe that if you believe from a biblical perspective that God made us and created us in a certain way to fulfill certain aspects and have certain elements of purpose, when we start walking outside of that definition of what God has for us, it tends to cause us to fall into more and more frustration with life.
Oh, I can agree with that.
With life.
People, we tend to never really be satisfied. When are we actually satisfied and actually content and don't want something different and something more in some area? In some area of your life,
right?
You do want to do something more and something different. Some things are okay, where they are, but you want to keep evolving somewhere in some capacity and some level in your life. So we don't really find true contentment.
Well, especially when you try and find it outside of the design of God's plan, right? The further you go outside, the more frustrating it gets, so it's again, the
more I have seen people that, it's like a drug. They're constantly chasing
after something, right?
This
and never
thing
finding
and never ever. I know someone that actually explained it just exactly that way. They never find that satisfaction.
There have been all kinds of people. It is a state of the world. When you try, again, speaking from a pastoral spiritual standpoint, when you try to find satisfaction in life outside of the design of God for your life, it becomes frustrating. I remember, there've been a lot of people. Hugh Hefner is one that comes to mind. I'm trying to remember. Deion Sanders is one that testifies about it in his life as a football player, professional football player, finding success in everything he did, right? And finding that the more he went after and the more he got, the less satisfied he became. And so when you want to be able to make good money, I'm making good money. I want to have women, I got women. I want to have cars, I got cars. And just finding that no matter whatever he got, he never fully satisfied,
right?
Until he did a turnaround and he gave his life to God.
That's very interesting because personally, I think that Christians, people that look to God, basically for everything. I do. we deal with situations differently than people that don't look to God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any really bad adverse situation where, you know, people might think, well, you know, he or she should just, you know, just act totally out of control and be really upset and be very angry. But you don't. When you have God, when you have Jesus, you look to him, you look to a higher being. I know someone once asked me, how do you remain calm in these certain situations? And I'm like, because I look to a higher being. So I think when you do have Christ, and when he is your hope, and you know that he's your hope, you do deal with things differently. You're less likely to be depressed. You handle it in a more spiritual way.
Because it gives you a foundation.
Right.
It gives you something that you can always depend on. You know, when you kind of launch out there on your own in various ways, you lose that foundation. You're out there on your own. And there are times when it stumbles and you have nothing to hold on to. You have nothing to reach back and grab or not feel like something has you. And so it is a frustration. It is a depressing. It is a struggle to live life on that manner, to live life without having that. Now, let me just say this. There are people that go to church and there are people that pursue God. Right?
Yes.
And they're not always the same. Right?
That's a very good point.
And this is part of the reason that people, especially these young people, get really struggle with the church, because there's a whole lot of people in the church that do church, but they don't truly pursue God. And it's the pursuit of God that really brings out these things in terms of hope and satisfaction and strength to go through. Going to church alone
is not going to do
necessarily that.
Exactly.
And you get all kind of characters when it comes to church folk.
Oh, you do. You get all kinds of personalities. You said characters. Right? I'm going to be nice. You get all types of personalities. Is
that better? That worse? Okay.
Well,
it's
characters.
Right.
Yes.
You get people, because you get people who are not about that, and you get people who are condemning. You get people who feel like they're self-righteous.
Yes.
People who feel like the only way to do it is their way.
It's their way, and they want
and they
think they're bigger than God. They want all the attention.
Their stink ain't as bad as your stink.
Exactly. It all stinks in the eyes of God.
Right. They'll put you down, even though they got their own stuff.
They got their own stuff. Right? They got their own stuff.
And Jesus was absolutely about that. Threatening them who wanted to cast stones. Who was without sin cast the first stone. So going back to what you were saying earlier about people who are in these struggles.
Yes.
Okay. And let's just start there, whether it's right, wrong, how you were made, what your struggle is. People are in these struggles and finding the struggle in their lives. You're right in terms of there's not an intent to condemn them, even for what they believe. If they believe in something that, it's not the same as we believe, but that's where you are.
Right.
I'm not gonna denounce you for what you believe, but I will share with you what I believe. And let's,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
The Bible says, come, let's reason together. Let's talk about this. You help me to understand where you are. I help you understand where I'm coming from. Hopefully we can help each other. Right.
Right. So, and that's what it's about.
Yeah. So there's no intent to throw these people out. Because these people are in these places. Right. Because as I think the point you were making earlier, there's a lot of people in church that are still struggling with stuff.
Exactly. And they say church is a hospital. Church is for people that one of my former the church I grew up in, he Robert W. Jones in Syracuse, he'd always say people's problems and problem people. This is what's in the church.
Yeah. I mean, so, the church is a place where people come to have problems, they have issues. To expect everybody in the church to have it all together and be straight is a wrong assumption.
It's very wrong, because I really like that, because we are born into sin and iniquity, and no one is perfect. Right. That's why God said, he who is without sin cast the first stone. Right. Judge not, lest you be judged. And we as a church and as Christians have to be very careful not to do that.
But here's the but. That does not give us an excuse to stay in the sins that we're in.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
No.
If I am compulsively doing whatever, if I'm a liar, I'm a cheater, if I'm in a place where, you know, I am not doing the things that I know I should be doing, I need to be pursuing getting it right. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that getting it right can be really challenging because it's deep inside of me. And I'm not, it's not even, again, it's not just about sexuality. Listen, when I was a kid, I had a lying problem. I was a compulsive liar.
Are you serious?
I was a kid, but well, I won't say compulsive, but let's put it this way. Like if mom asked me, did you do it? I'd be, nope.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Like that. Yeah. Nope.
and it wouldn't, I wouldn't even have to think about it. Nope. Like, who did? Nope. Wasn't me. No. I mean, I think about it later, you know, okay, I probably shouldn't because
you got an older brother, you blame it on him? No.
No, I would just be in total denial. Okay. Right. And it had become this thing where it was an automatic reflex. I ain't telling, no, it wasn't me. You
didn't want to get that little spanking.
You know what changed me?
What?
I was in the church. And somebody read the scripture that said all liars will have their place in the lake of fire.
And you didn't want to go to hell.
I was like, whoa, that's deep, guys. That's a little heavy, right?
Yes.
And so I decided this needed to change, right?
Yes.
Because I could have easily accepted that in myself. Look, I'm just going to tell a little white lie. But
you were just a little child. You were a child.
I was very young.
Yes.
I was pre-teen, right?
Okay.
But to me, it was serious enough to say, okay, look, if this is wrong, I need to let go of this, and I need to get this out of me, right? And it caused me to make the change. The point that I'm making is, if we are in sin and we realize this is sin, even if it's compulsive, even if it's gotten a hold of us, you know, there are a lot of different types of sins, even sexual sins. Some people are compulsive, addicted into pornography.
Yes, there's all kind of all kind of.
And it's just, you know, you can convince yourself that anything you're doing is okay.
Yeah.
You can convince yourself that anything, and this is why we cross this border into all these other sexualities, because if you do it long enough, you will convince yourself that what I'm doing is all right. But that doesn't necessarily mean
that it's all right. It's all right. Exactly.
And so you have to come to the point, like the point I was making about me lying, that you realize, look, this is not right. And I need this to change in my life. You know, and so you have to come to that place. As Christians, we're supposed to be coming to that place where as God exposes things to us, and it happens not just when the day you got saved, it happens across your lifetime,
right?
Where God will show you things that have been okay with you, and all of a sudden you're like, God shows you, you know, you can't do this.
Right. This is not right. You
can't be in these environments.
Right.
You can't hang with this. You can't watch this. You can't listen to this. And, you know,
you have to change your environment.
Right. And I have to be like, it was fine. It was okay. A minute ago, I was okay with it. But, you know, the closer you get to God, God will show you things that are between you and him.
That's right.
And you have to make the choice to let those things go in your life.
You have to be convicted.
Right. And so that is what the church is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a place that helps us to perceive, understand those things, and then release those things out of our lives. And sometimes there needs to be spiritual deliverance to some things, because some things come with demonic overflows. They come with all kind of,
and they bring other spirits.
Right.
Yes, they do. They bring it right.
And there does need to be some things lifted out of your spirit.
Right.
And off of your
and soul. You can't let these spirits take control of yourself or your church. Now, somebody just asked a question.
Yeah.
Do you think people who are fighting with their homosexuality should leave position in church? Here's my thought on that. Okay. If there was someone in church and they were living with a man or a woman and they were not married, would you let them lead anything in church?
You're asking me? You said this is what you were going to say.
Well, I would say, no, actually, if you know that someone is living a lifestyle,
right,
and they want to be up in your pulpit,
right,
preaching, or, you know, they want to be laying hands, and I don't play that. They want to be laying hands on you and praying and pleading the blood of Jesus. And just last night or every night, they're sleeping with somebody and they're not married.
Yeah.
Do you want them praying for you?
I mean, take it past struggling.
That's what I'm getting at.
What if they're an alcoholic? they're out drinking every weekend? What if they're out partying every weekend? What if they are, sleeping with someone else's wife, right? What if they are a compulsive liar?
You are not then, in my opinion, you are not spiritually ready to lead anything in church.
And every sin is not just about sexual sins.
Exactly.
Right? I've had people in the church that I've had to pull back because they were doing shiesty stuff.
Yeah, people see it.
Not in the church, sometimes in the church, sometimes out of the church.
Yes, exactly.
Right? There sometimes you have to pull back. So to the question of leadership, right? We have to be wise and careful of who we use in leadership at any given situation.
Because see, this is actually becomes a reflection on the pastor and the first lady. What are you running here? What kind of church is this?
It's on the church.
And the church, everybody.
Because it identifies what we represent.
Exactly.
Listen, if there are things that you're struggling with and you know that you're struggling with it may not
be asking.
It may not be the right time for you to be in leadership. Yeah. There have been times when people have to pull back because I need to get this together in my life.
Right. I'm having some issues.
Right. And so, there are times when the leaders in the church have to be those that are living the life that we're teaching and preaching about.
Right.
Now, I'll say this. There are times when we go through personal struggles, right? I'm not doing everything the way I should. But again, that's who we are in humanity. We should be in a position where we are striving to do better and more of what God would have us to do at all times. So if something is called out in your life, to say, look, this is something, you yelling at your wife every night. You're an angel here in church. And you go home.
You're an abuser.
You're an abuser at home,
yes.
right? So it's not just about sexuality.
Right.
The issue is, there needs to be change. You may need to get some counseling. You may need to get some prayer to get some things right. And you may have to pull back. If you were a leader already, you may have to pull back for a minute, whatever that is, to get some things right before you can really stand up in front of people and truly lead them. And because you have to feel comfortable that I am, I'm doing what I'm preaching, right? If I'm struggling my own self, in terms of what I'm doing, it's hard for me. To lead you. And I'll be honest with you, be straightforward. I know a lot of pastors, a lot of preachers. There are times when we're going through things because we're not perfect either.
Right.
And we're going through some things and we're still trying to lead people, but we're struggling. And sometimes they need to be prayed through that. Sometimes it's too much and they need to pull away and they need to say, look, I got to get this right before I go forward. But in general, you want to be in a position where you're able to lead by example.
Right.
Things that you're doing.
Right. And then, we don't want to have, people, like Naz, turning away from church. We don't want them to become reprobate,
right?
And just totally reject God. I think that we need to be, I'm not saying be so lenient, but we ought to be able to be wise and be able to help and talk to people.
We definitely have to be wise.
You can't just shut it down.
Right. And we have to be able to help people to fully understand what it is they're going through, what they're dealing with, and how we rectify that. Right.
Okay.
So it's been a good conversation. I hope a lot of people get a chance to hear it. We spent almost the whole hour talking about this subject, but it's a very important subject, especially today, especially in the church. And this is really what this program is about. Is about going after these things openly and honestly, and having the conversation.
Yes, because God loves us all.
Right.
That's where I'm going to leave that.
So we could continue talking on that. We were supposed to talk about Derrick Chauvin too. In that case, Lord have mercy. That's been interesting to watch this week. We only have a few minutes left, but the case will continue on. We can talk about it more.
Yes.
But just briefly, we started with these key witnesses on the prosecutor side. A lot of stuff has been brought to light.
A lot
of things have been seen. And we had a conversation the other night about this. Personally, I don't think there's any question here, and it's going to be interesting to see where this ends up by the time it goes through the rule of the court. I don't think there's any question from the evidence seen thus far that he's responsible.
Yes.
For the death of George Floyd. I don't think you can just blame it on had drugs in his systems or whatever. There were intentional actions that were going on that ultimately stressed him to the point of causing death, right?
You think something stressed him?
Yeah, very much so. Having your foot on somebody's
I
neck
thought you said, okay.
stressed him. Stressed his body, stressed
George Floyd's body.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All right. George.
Yes.
Which caused his death, and then caused Derrick Chauvin's death, caused George Floyd's death. So I don't think there's really any question of whether he's responsible for his death. The question is going to be, what is it going to take to push it from manslaughter to murder? And I think there's a lot that's when you look at the definition of the law.
Yes.
And how the prosecutor is going to prove that, that's where the real question is. I think they started to set some of that because, if you look, and again, open-minded, got a chance to see more of this case this week in film footage than ever before, right? Heard a lot more of the story of how this all started, because it started, with them in there apparently passing some $20 bills that they thought were false. The owner of the store is the one that called the police. Police come to take him out. They capture him in the car. They're going to pull him out. He becomes extremely stressed, right? The first thing that you see here is no real effort to de-escalate, because he was clearly stressed out. He was stressed out by being taken by the police. He was stressed out by being put in the back of the car.
I have to say this, anytime a black man is confronted with the police, that's stress right off the top. Yep. And then he actually put a gun to his head.
Pulled out a gun.
And the man, this big, strong, physically strong black man is begging and pleading with this officer not to shoot him. This is so...
He gets in the back and now
so sad.
He's saying he's claustrophobic. And from a police standpoint, they're like, is he telling the truth? Is he lying? I don't know. He just don't want to get in. Look, we need you to get in. Okay. You go through the first stage of this, which is kind of a normal arrest, right? You've been accused of this. We're taking you to jail. We'll figure it out there. We're putting you in the car. He's not easily going into the car. So they end up fighting, wrestling with him, pulling him out. Again, this is all typical police stuff to this point. Until they get him to the point where they totally have him under, where he can't fight back, can't resist.
No, he couldn't do anything.
He's on the ground. His arms are behind him. He's trying to struggle for a while.
You got two officers on his legs and on his back.
I mean, you've got him. He's restrained. And at some point, he really stops resisting.
Yeah.
This is where the issue comes in.
And it's really, is it really resisting, or is it a natural instinct?
Either way, if you're fighting to get loose, you're resisting. Right? It may be your natural instinct. Some people's natural instinct to run, but it's still by definition.
But if somebody's hurting you, you're going to move.
Right.
You're going to move.
But my point, let's move past that.
Okay.
That's another issue. At some point, he stops resisting.
He did.
Okay. So they use whatever force they feel is necessary to get him to stop resisting. And at some point down there, he stops resisting. His arms are behind him. The struggle is over.
Yes.
The issue, everything that happens from that point forward is where the issue is.
Yes.
Right. Everything prior to that, I don't think if everything had stopped right then, I don't think anybody would be taking Derrick Chauvin to court. I don't think he would have been suspended. I don't think people might not have liked it. But to that point, there's really nothing there legally that would have been an issue. He was a cop trying to arrest a man that was trying not to be arrested. But when he got to the point where he stopped resisting, and now they're continuing to apply this pressure on him, from this point forward, the case becomes a real significant problem.
That's right.
Because it's the continuation of this force that ultimately disables his breathing, disables him from, it stops his body functions, his heart breaks down.
And he's telling them that these things are happening.
And they're ignoring him and they don't believe him, whatever the case may be, but they're still applying this force. So they cause, and to the point where he dies. So they have exerted force on him to the point where he dies. And then after his heart is stopped and they acknowledge that his heart is stopped and everything, then they do nothing to try and keep him alive.
Nothing.
These are the steps, I think, that are the real issue in terms of, okay, is this just oops, manslaughter, I caused his death.
No.
Or murder in terms of I allow him to die, I caused his death, I allowed him to die, and I didn't show any remorse or any attempt to even try and get him to survive it.
Well, even when the EMT, when they arrived, the man had to ask Chauvin to move away, to take your knee, move so that I can get to him and help him.
Right.
He didn't even move when the ambulance came.
Yeah, and the guy's completely motionless, still quiet, not breathing. There's no up and down in his chest, and still has him on. And then, by the way, okay, this guy, hey, guess what? This guy's not breathing. This guy doesn't have a pulse. Maybe we should work on trying to get him back.
Well, they were asking.
But I'm saying before they even came.
Well, I'm saying there were people.
Because
there was someone there.
People, right.
Yeah.
Because they called the paramedics because they realized there was a problem.
And there was
why, until the paramedics came, weren't they doing everything they could? Why do you still have your knee on his neck and you're calling the paramedics? And then when you call him, why aren't you trying to do something to bring him to resuscitate him? So I think those are the issues that are really
that's what's going to take him under.
Yeah. So
that's what's going to get him incarcerated.
It's going to really depend on how the case is brought, and how it's interpreted. But this is going to be one to watch. And obviously there's a lot of people watching, and that would suggest that if he is not convicted,
oh my goodness,
then it's just a confirmation that the whole system is just rigged against us.
Yes, that's what I've been hearing.
Our time is up. That's all we have a chance to talk about that today. We'll talk about it more, I'm sure, next week, because more will come out.
Yes.
But hope everybody has enjoyed being with us and enjoyed this. If you get a chance to read it, watch it later, or share it with somebody, please, by all means, do leave us a comment if you appreciate it, if you value it, if you disagree, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter. You don't have to agree to everything. Just talk, right? Just get involved with the conversation. Right. So thank you to everybody for hooking up with us tonight. And we are getting ready for tomorrow morning. Once again, we are having service tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m. Looking forward to the people of God coming together. It's been a long time. We've had a lot going on. A lot of things have kept us separated, but it will be so good to be connected. So we encourage you to connect up tomorrow, whatever church you go to or you're part of. Be connected tomorrow. Yes. Wear your mask. Be safe, but be connected. God bless you, everybody. You guys have a good evening. We're going to get ready for ours and for tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. He lives. He lives. Get excited.
Yes.
About to have a celebration. Come and join us.
Yes.
We'll see you. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
We serve a